Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is our Good TuesNewsday. I only said Mucking Fun Day. What, number 2? No, it's Good TuesNewsday. We're going to cover our good, positive stories that are happening out in the world about human nature and human surviving and economies getting better and saving the environment, all sorts of things. Finding lost paintings. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we've started, and we haven't had any caffeine. So we're going to read the stories like we've never learned to read, and you're going to listen to us as you sip your own cup of coffee. Let's get into the headlines. Today on Before Coffee. Teenage hiker lost in mountains for 10 days with a broken arm survives by eating toothpaste. Workers survive 36 hours buried under Indian avalanche.
Good morning from the United States, where it is Good TuesNewsday here also, but barely. This French company is making life-saving food cheaper and boosted global nutrition.
The oldest presence of our species found in a forest 150,000 years ago in the Ivory Coast.
Also, UK's net zero economy is an economic powerhouse, and we will cover Immigrants and Renewables supercharge Spain's economy.
In culture news, stolen Brueghel painting resurfaces in the Netherlands after 50 years.
And it is Fat Tuesday. That's right. If you're fat, oh wait, no, this is about Mardi Gras. Never mind. It's Fat Tuesday on Good TuesNewsday on March 4th, 2025 on Before Coffee. I don't hear myself now, so that's good.
Let's roll our segues.
Okay, let's get our control board up.
A control board.
So we can control it, yeah.
All right, we've got mixed metaphor. Here you go. Your control board. Hey, you can be the sound guy, and I can just do everything else. That'll be great.
Okay.
Bringing up the sound thing on Discord is just too much for me to handle. I'm already doing everything else. All right, first story we have here is from a teenage hiker. This is some good news for this Good TuesNewsday. Teenage hiker lost in the mountains for 10 days. This 18-year-old set on a solo trek in northwest China, but lost contact with his family after 2 days. This is from Rusha Musafar on The Independent. Stranded without food, Sun Lang relied on river water. Sun Lang causes my speech impediment to start. Relied on river water, melted snow, and even toothpaste to survive, local news outlet Tim News reported. Mr. Sun set out on an 8th December solo trek along the Altai Pass, part of the Jingling Range in Shaanxi, northwest China. 2 days later, having reached an altitude of 2,500 meters, he lost contact with his family when his electronics devices died. Stranded in freezing wilderness, Mr. Sun attempted to find a way out by following a stream, but suffered multiple falls, breaking his right arm, the outlet reported. With no food, he survived on stream water, melted snow, and toothpaste. To escape the biting wind, he took shelter behind a large rock, using dry leaves as bedding. On 17th of February, after 10 days lost, he smelled smoke from a rescue team's fire and shouted for help. The Altai Trail, spanning 170 kilometers, is among China's most dangerous trekking routes, with over 50 climbers missing or dead in the past 2 decades. Authorities closed it to travelers in 2018, but adventurers continue to take the risk, like this guy. They should, of course, at some point, usually governments start saying, we're not going to rescue you guys if you go out there. It's hard to say that, right? We're just going to abandon people. Mr. Sun is believed to be the first to be rescued after getting lost in the area. I didn't know Altai was banned. I came here just to challenge myself, Mr. Sun reportedly said after his rescue. Well, he is 18 years old, and as everyone who's been an 18-year-old knows, you don't look things up and do research. You just say, fuck it. And that's true. A lot of 18-year-olds do just say, I'm invulnerable to damage. I'm going to go out there and prove myself. After the incident, it's called arrogance, and unfortunately a lot of younger people do have that. I have it too, and I'm not even young anymore. After the incident, I was very scared. Altai is completely unsuitable for trekking. The weather is very harsh. There's no beautiful scenery. I call on everyone not to conquer this route because life is priceless. It's not yet. It wasn't even pretty to look at. That's the worst thing, right? Well, I may be dying of starvation, but at least look at the view. Didn't even get to say that much. It's not. There's no beautiful scenery, he says. Zero. Mr. Sun's rescue involved over 30 people. It reportedly cost his family 8,000 won, or 8,700 pounds. What that is in USD, probably around the same price. The Altai Trail runs along the ridgeline of the Mount Taipei. While estimates of its exact length vary, the trail is known for its high altitude and steep terrain, with an average elevation of 10,000 feet and total elevation gain of 14,000 to 275 feet. The route takes hikers over the Qingling Range's highest peak, Mount Tabai, which stands at 12,300 feet, before crossing the ridgeline to Aoshan, the second highest peak, at 11,400 feet. So it's very tall. It's not Everest or anything, but considering the high winds, you might as well just fall off cliffs and break your arm like poor Sun Lang did. But that's your... Lucky he's okay. He was able to survive, and the government didn't abandon him to go into a place that's been banned for climbing. Because that can happen, right? I think we've been arguing about that when it comes to asking people to evacuate, and then people don't evacuate. It's like, well, we're not going to save you. We gave you the evacuation order. If you want to stay there, you're on your own. And more great news about... Sorry?
And they want government aid. The government's going to save me. They're like, dude, you should have left. Why does the government need to help you? You're right. Yeah.
Well, this is a totally different scenario where I guess that what they need to do is put up signs probably saying this is a banned trail. If you hike this trail, you will not be rescued. And then that probably would stop them right there. Oh, shit. I didn't know this was banned. In some more positive rescue news, we have workers surviving 36 hours buried under an Indian avalanche. This is by Kathleen Magramo on CNN. Coming out of New Delhi. Dozens of construction workers have been pulled alive from metal containers after they were trapped by a deadly Himalayan avalanche for around 36 hours, according to authorities in northern India. The Indian Army launched a rescue operation after heavy snowfall triggered the avalanche last Friday, which was the 28th of February, near a construction site in the village of Mana, Uttarakhand state, about 10,500 feet, 3,200 meters above sea level. So about the same height as our Chinese mountains. Some 46 workers survived inside the containers, Indo-Tibetan Border Police and the Indian Army said. 8 workers unfortunately were killed, officials said. Many of those rescued were migrant laborers constructing a highway in the remote region, according to local authorities. Well, I hope they build some sort of anti-avalanche system, or else they're just going to have a road that's covered with snow most of the year. Lieutenant Colonel Manish Srivastava, a defense spokesperson in Uttarakhand state, told CNN on, today, the 4th of March, that the workers usually pitch tents, but had set up temporary accommodation in 8 metal containers due to inclement weather. The decision likely saved many lives, he said. The containers kept people safe and in fact made the rescue efforts easier, because find a body buried under such dense snow is much harder than finding a large container, he said. It's also very cold, so they probably tried to avoid touching the edge of it. Photos posted in the Indian Army Twitter account showed children with sniffer dogs surrounding partially crushed metal containers in deep snow. Also, the snow was so heavy they could crush the containers still. Whoever could be taken out immediately was taken out. We got full support, one unnamed survivor said from his hospital bed in a video attached to the post. Avalanches and landslides are common in the Himalayas. It is, of course, a mountain, especially during winter. But the human-induced climate crisis is making extreme weather events more severe and increasingly unpredictable. Yeah, that snow's melting way sooner than people think. Glaciers in Himalayas melted 65% faster in 2010s compared with the previous decade, which suggests rising temperatures are already having an impact in the area, according to a 2023 report by International Center for Integrated Mountain Development. The erosion of glacial slopes also heightens the likelihood of floods, landslides, and avalanches, increasing the risk to millions living in mountain communities. In 2021, more than 200 people died after part of a glacier collapsed in Uttarakhand, carrying a deadly mixture of ice, rock, and water that tore through mountain gorges and crashed through dams. Yeah, reminder that the places that have built the mountains up, those gorges by mountains, those cliffs, were all carved out by ice age glaciers. So glaciers are very sharp and very strong, and they will ground down the land, which is almost like melted ice cream to the glaciers. They don't care. So the more they melt and the more they collapse, the more they will tear through the land, rearranging it into a new and totally different place. So there's your climate warning of the week. We'll probably have more of those because it's causing weird stuff to happen as well. Those are my stories about surviving the mountains.
And as climbing a mountain is always a metaphor about life, right? It's always like, climb that mountain. It's always a metaphor about life. So when you're climbing that mountain, stop digging. And I'm hearing myself again, so getting all distracted by my own voice. All right, so we're gonna spin the wheel for me, I guess. I don't know.
No, spin the wheel for me. Actually, that was the wheel for you.
Cool.
If you want to do all the segues, go for it, man. You can do them all.
No, that's too hard.
All right, I have to write a haiku.
You have to write a haiku about a French company made a life-saving food cheaper and boosted global nutrition. This is from The Conversation. I could do 2 Gene Hackman movies off the title: The French Connection and The Conversation, right?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I know, right?
Sign. I don't know what it's a sign of, but it's a sign.
It's a sign that who wrote this headline. This is from fastfood.com, and The Conversation, I guess, is their subtitle for their section of their newsletter or whatever. Anyway, about 19 million children under 5 around the world suffer from severe acute malnutrition every year. This life-threatening condition kills 400,000 of them. That's one child every 10 seconds.
Oh.
When you're sitting around thinking, oh, God loves me. Well, why does he hate children? Anyway, these numbers are staggering, especially because a life-saving treatment has existed for nearly 3 decades. Ready-to-use therapeutic food. In other words, God don't care about you at all. That's my point. God is not looking out for you. If he was looking out for people. I'm just saying. Anyway, these numbers are staggering, especially because a life-saving treatment has existed for nearly 3 decades. Ready-to-use therapeutic food. Nutriset, a French company, is founded by Michael Lescan. He was one of 2 scientists who invented the product in 1996, a sticky peanut butter paste branded Plumpy's Nut. It's enriched with vitamins and minerals that comes in packets that require no refrigeration and no preparation. Oh, shit, I'm gonna live off that. That's my new go-to for lunch. Healthcare professionals were quickly convinced of its promise. What is harder to figure out is how to manufacture as many packets as possible when cutting costs. In 2008, ready-to-use therapeutic food producers like Nutriset charged $60 for a box of 150 packets. That is, let's do the calculations. $2.50 a pack. $2.50. The number needed. Oh, yeah, it's not even $2.50 a pack, is it? It's less than that, right? $60 for 100. I'm doing it backwards. 100. What's 120 divided by 3? It's 40 cents a pack. 40 cents a pack. Yeah, 40 cents. There you go. The number needed to treat one severely malnutritious child for 6 to 8 weeks needed for their recovery. So there you go. $60, 6 to 8 weeks of feeding one child. Seems worth it. Because we need children. Without children replenishing the dead people, the population will stop. And there's a point where the population loss will get out of control, and China's probably going to experience that because people stopped having kids years ago, or they just have one kid years ago. In a study we published in we published in the Journal of Management Studies in October 2024. We explain how the international agencies, non-governmental organizations, activists, and for-profit companies involved in the product distribution managed to resolve public controversy over the use of Nutriset's patent and its for-profit business model. Contrary to the expectations of activists and many humanitarian NGOs, this for-profit company managed to reduce its prices down to $39 per box of Plumpy nut packets by 2019. So that was $39 for 150 packets, and keep them consistently lower than any nonprofit or for-profit competitors could, all the while enforcing its patent rights. We interviewed John Komerska, a pharmacist, then serving as the ready-to-use therapeutic food procurement manager at UNICEF, which is the United States Agency for Children. Tito von Schoenangerer, a pediatrician who is leading the Access to Medicines campaign. Your name is Angerer? Anyway, it's a pediatrician who was leading the Access to Medicines campaign at Doctors Without Borders, a medical charity, and Thomas Coale, a Nutriset executive. We also studied documents issued over the course of a decade to find out why this company's unusual approach to intellectual property protection was so successful. Nutriset, a humanitarian organization, disagreed at the start over how to proceed with production of ready-to-use therapeutic food. Doctors Without Borders at first accused Nutriset of behaving like a big drug maker, shielding itself from competition by aggressively enforcing its patents to charge excessively high prices. The non-governmental organization demanded that Nutriset allow any manufacturers to make its patented packets without any compensation for that intellectual property. Well, they got to make some money. Otherwise, they're just not going to be able to pay their workers. By 2012, Nutriset had changed course. It had stopped being almost the sole producer of ready-to-use therapeutic food and instead allowed licensees and franchise partners, there you go, jackasses, chiefly located in low-income countries, to make packets without having to pay for any royalties. It did, however, make an exception for the United States. It allowed Edizia, a Rhode Island-based nonprofit, to become a Nutriset franchisee. It also provided these smaller producers with seed funding and technical advice. Nutriset is still the world's largest ready-to-use therapeutic food producer, and we have determined through our research it is responsible for about 30% to 40% of the world's annual production, down from more than 90% in 2008. There are some U.S. manufacturers, such as Tabachnik Fine Foods, but they aren't Nutriset partners. At the same time, the company continued to threaten to take legal action against potential rivals located in developing countries that were replicating their recipe without authorization. Oh my God, they're feeding people and we're not getting a cut. We're not getting a cut. Usually, a cease and desist letters were sufficient. Nutriset implemented a strategy to ward off competition from big multinational corporations, which makes sense, that might try to establish their brands in new markets, gaining a foothold before flooding them with imported, ultra-processed food. A big risk, had that occurred, would have been less breastfeeding for newborns and the disruption of local diets. Nutriset's strategy of opening access to its patents selectively has enabled UNICEF to double its share of packets it buys from producers located in the global south. UNICEF, the world's biggest buyer of ready-to-use therapeutic food, bought less than one-third of its supplies from those nations in 2011. That share climbed to two-thirds in 2022. Nutriset's reliance on local franchises has helped create over 1,000 jobs in hunger-stricken regions, where strengthening the supply chain and reducing carbon emissions of transportation, according to UNICEF. Nutriset's creative patent strategy also helped its partner producer in low-income countries, which include nonprofit and for-profit ventures, complete with large corporations in developed countries by the time its patent expired in 2018. In this instance, a for-profit company not only managed to keep its prices lower than its competitors, including nonprofits, but also uses patent to support economic development in developing countries by shielding startup producers from international competition. As a result of these successes, we found that non-governmental organizations eventually stopped criticizing the French company and reorganized and recognized that high prices were actually not due to Nutriset's patent policy, but rather to global prices of the packet's ingredients. In recognition of the contributions of this innovation, Nutriset won the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's Patents for Humanity Award in 2015, offering a cheap, convenient, and effective treatment. One of the biggest advantages of ready-to-use therapeutic food is that parents or other caregivers can give it to their kids at home or on the go. That's more convenient and cheaper than the alternative. Several months of hospitalization where children receive a nutrient-dense liquid called therapeutic milk. Sounds awful. The at-home treatment works most of the time. More than 80% of the children who get 3 daily food packets recover within 2 months. Severe acute malnutrition deaths remain high because historically only 25 to 50% of children suffering from it get treated with ready-to-use therapeutic food due to insufficient funding. The treatment programs are run by governments, UNICEF and other international agencies, and NGOs such as Doctors Without Borders. U.S. government spent about $200 million in 2024 through the U.S. Agency for International Development, which has been disbanded by shit for brains, on ready-to-use therapeutic food enough packets to treat 3.9 million children. That's nearly as much as UNICEF, which treats about 5 million children annually. So USAID, again, getting torn down by Apartheid Clyde, or as Bill Burr calls him, the Twitter guy. It is unclear that whether the Trump administration, which is trying to dismantle USAID, will discontinue its funding of ready-to-use therapeutic food that the U.S. government has purchased exclusively from U.S. manufacturers with U.S.-sourced ingredients. So we're doing it all right. And, of course, it doesn't matter because Trump works for Russia. At a time when the flow of development aid from several wealthy countries is declining, the precedent Nutriset, that's a tough one to say that sentence. The precedent Nutriset set suggests that humanitarian organizations, by teaming up with international agencies, governments, and for-profit companies, can help drive down the cost of saving lives threatened by hunger while increasing the nutritional autonomy of the global South. Global South. Don't remember, most of humanitarian's problems is south of the equator. Did you know that? Most of it. Yeah. The North does pretty well. North of the equator doing pretty well. It's the south of the equator, the economies are struggling. Unless you're talking about like Australia or something like that, or Botswana. They're probably doing fine, but
Now they're definitely talking about the pillaged South, which has historically just been sucked of all its resources and then left to rot. This is definitely what they're talking about there. Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. Plus, air conditioning was only recently developed. And at a time when flow development aid from several wealthy countries is declining, the president, I did this already, but the funding for ready-to-use therapeutic food and its distribution has to come from somewhere, whether it's from governments, foundations, or other donors. So, again, maybe buy for these companies for your own health. I mean, it seems like a cheap way to live, right? If you can live on a couple bucks a day, why not? If you're only one person, you're not feeding anybody else, you're getting your nutrition. Or you can drink that milk stuff, huh? Anyway.
The milk, the replacement milk, high nutrient milk, yeah.
Let's have the haiku so I can rate the haiku with sound.
All right, my haiku is French feeding frenzy. Old life-saving treatment shared. Think of the children. So we finally discovered what has been. I mean, what I really like about that is that it's a great example of how self-regulation can work, but I still don't agree with it, right? I'd still rather there have been an independent independent body that instead of, what were they saying? Oh, well, it's a good thing we were regulating it because look at all these companies illegally using our patents and, not actually properly selling good food. Like, right, he said like they would, I think you said in the article, they would be selling the nutritious food, and then later they would change it up to like really cheap, badly nutritious food.
Yeah.
But still be selling it for the same price. So there was a independent regulator for that. They could have actually fined those people instead of them just saying, "Hey, those guys are doing stuff."
Well, I can understand why they did it, because they want to protect themselves from large corporations who swoop right in, make a product that looks similar to yours, charge a little bit more, and use different ingredients. And we found this is 40% lead in.
But I'm just saying, if there's an independent regulator for this, or like a global regulator for this, right? Those people can get fined and put out of business. As a corporation yourself, all you can do is outcompete them, and they go out of business that way,
That used to be a thing in the United States. You must be talking about another country, because nobody's going out of business now because there's no regulations.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah, and I'm saying, well, there's a global regulator is what I meant, because there are global regulators of certain things. So, and since we're on a global market,
somebody needs to regulate this country.
All right, let's roll our segue wheel.
The age of stupid. We are in the age of stupid. Where stupid people think they're smart. Oh yeah.
An accurate metaphor.
Accurate metaphor. I don't know, man. That's tough. Okay, go ahead. I don't know. That's not tough. Sorry. Wait, we gotta do the sound. Look at this sound. Accurate metaphor. Okay.
This is going to be my longest story today. We're going to talk about the oldest presence of our species found ever. Previous record for the continent was only 18,000 years ago, but this is 150,000 years ago. The discovery of the tools in tropical forests questioned whether Homo sapiens had a single origin in the African plains. Well, maybe they weren't even African plains. There's also been studies that showed when our axis tilt changes, that certain parts of our planet become more green and other parts of our planet become more desertous. So right now, Africa is more in its desert era, you know? But when that axis tilts the other way, it's going to get less sun and then more water, and it's going to become a rainforest, supposedly, according to theories. Nobody's been alive to actually see it happen. This article, however, is by Nuno Dominguez on El País. In the early 1980s, also I translated this article from Spanish, so if there's some weird sentences in here, blame Google. In the early 1980s, a scientific expedition from the Soviet Union and the Ivory Coast succeeded in a seemingly impossible mission. They found traces of humans in the middle of the rainforest. Stone tools carved by Homo sapiens thousands of years ago. The technology at the time could not pinpoint the exact date. Years passed, the site of the excavation was forgotten, and the tools found were lost in 2011 during the Second Civil War that ravaged the Ivory Coast. God, now we'll never know. Just kidding. In 2020, another team led by one of the scientists who made the original discovery located the excavated site again. Work has allowed them to accurately date the original location where the tools were found and determine the oldest ones are 150,000 years old. I'm not sure if this is by carbon dating or another way, but carbon dating is one of the most common ways they date things, especially dinosaur fossils. Actually, no, they don't use carbon dating to date dinosaur fossils because there's no carbon, it's just a fossil. Anyways, this is an impressive find because until now, the oldest presence of our species is forested area of Africa that was just only 18,000 years ago. The new data challenges the classic theory of Homo sapiens evolution. This narrative holds that the first members of the species emerged about 300,000 years ago, probably in an open savanna landscape, as the oldest fossils have been found in these environments in East Africa. That original population spread across the rest of the continent and jumped into Asia and Europe. Until now, it was thought the tropical forest acted as a natural barrier and were excluded from that expansion until relatively recently. Why wouldn't people be living in tropical forest? There's so much plant life and animal life in forests. Why would... Oh, no, they never went in there. It was too scary. Like, yeah, tell that to the people in the Amazon who are living in the middle of the Amazon. In recent years, thanks to a new genetic and archaeological data, we have realized that let me try that again. I can't speak today. In recent years, thanks to new genetic and archaeological data, we have realized that this view is false. And our study further proves of this, explains the newspaper. The paleoanthropologist Eslim Ben Arous researcher at the National Center for Human Evolution in Burgos, and first author of the study, which is published this Wednesday, so the 5th of March, in Nature, a reference for the best world science. The 32-year-old Parisian Ben Arous is an expert in 2 new data techniques for quartz crystals and sediments, which have been applied to 2 layers of soil at the Avalanche site. The results show that one of them indicates a continuous human presence from 150,000 years ago to 50,000 years ago. So about 100 years of burgeoning human society. The most recent band indicates sapiens present between 20,000 and 12,000 years ago. Analysis of pollen and other compounds shows the area of the Ivory Coast was covered by rainforest. Yeah, I was just talking about that, the tilted axis theory. Ben Arous explains, for decades, research into the origin of our species in Africa has focused on areas with high potential for fossil discovery. Open environments such as grasslands and open savannas, and coastal areas. These 2 environments are particularly important for understanding the dispersal of human populations in Africa and beyond. However, the overrepresentation of these regions has led to a dominant view that we have always been taught in our textbooks. We expanded from a single origin, she added. Furthermore, it is virtually impossible for human fossils from tens of thousands of years ago to be preserved in these humid rains. Yeah, those fungi will just eat it up. Delicious bones. Very few teams dare to excavate in the forest, and that is why so little is known about human evolution in environments. I think the only places you can possibly find fossils or human remains or any sort of indicator of humans is probably in tar pits, sinking sand, stuff like that.
Pompeii.
No, not Pompeii. Yeah, if a volcano went off in the Ivory Coast. Also, you can find... I'm thinking of places in rainforest, right? There's tar in rainforest. Right. There can be sinking sand. You can also... I'm thinking one more thing, like a bog. Bogs. Famously in the UK, they find dead people in bogs all the time. Very old dead people from hundreds of years ago in bogs. Bogs have a very mummification system. Yeah, bog ban. Not sure if any of that is available at the Ivory Coast, though. The new discovery shows that our species inhabited the African wilderness for tens of thousands of years. It also shows that, as was logical to think, there were the first jungles in the world to be populated, although until now the oldest presence of sapiens and rainforests was in Asia some 70,000 years ago. The main conclusion of the work is that our species does not have a single cradle, but that there was a joint evolution of different groups in very different environments, including tropical forests, the authors of the discovery emphasize. I mean, I don't want to say obviously, but we already see this from other animals. There used to be there's African lions, there used to be Asian lions, and there used to be American lions. The American lions unfortunately died off, I think, long ago, but they existed. There used to be actual American horses, every single region of our planet that used to be part of one continent, right? I can't remember the name of it, but when we were one continent and we split apart, I think Pangea. All the life evolution happened then. And then when we split apart, we kind of broke into our different branches because of the different environments we were in. So, Asian cats are different from African cats, for real. Or even elephants, right? We have Asian elephants and African elephants. Those are different because they had different regions to grow up in. Of course, Europe killed all their animals, so there could have been European lions, but we got rid of all of those guys. It was probably just the Eurasian continent, which is very commonly the truth, right? Europe and Asia have been sharing the same life for millennia. But for me, this isn't a huge revelation. Of course, as a Native American descendant, I've been arguing that, people from North America are different people from different places. We didn't come all from Asia, all right? But people like to say that, right? Oh, you're all Asians. Like, yeah. People walked all the way from Asia all the way to South America. Sure they did, buddy. Okay. That's more likely than just being a different branch of human. The original site, Bete 1, was located about 20 kilometers from the capital of Abidjan, but was destroyed in 2022 by the opening of a mine. Despite this, Ivorian Yode Hude, a researcher at the Institute of History and Archaeology at Côte d'Ivoire, or the Ivory Coast in French, stresses, this discovery is not only the first of many that will be made, as there are more sites in the country's rainforest waiting to be studied. Wede was also one of the leaders of the Soviet Ivorian expedition in the 1980s, and one of the main authors of the current research, together with Eleanor Serreri from the Max Planck Institute for Geoanthropology in Germany. CSIC paleoanthropologist Antonio Rosas, who was not involved in the study, believes that this finding supports the idea that Homo sapiens is a pan-African species. The typical evolutionary image of our species taking one step after another is not correct. He points out, in reality, there are many groups in different environments, some isolated, others in contact, which contributed to different physical, cognitive, and cultural traits to form the physiognomy and unique intellect of Homo sapiens. He points out, the great contribution of the new study in the Ivory Coast, Rosas adds, is that it has carried out a sophisticated analysis of ancient pollen and other biochemical compounds of plants that demonstrate beyond a doubt that this area was a rainforest in 150,000 years ago, which, yet again, was a theory that has been held by, I guess, not anthropologists, but just, those geoanthropologists, maybe. Rosas highlights a paradox. We know more about the evolution of Neanderthals in Europe at the time than we do about our own species in Africa. But new campaigns in unexplored areas of the western part of the continent are opening a new window on the parallel evolution of sapiens and Neanderthals. Just over a month ago, Rosas announced the discovery of human tools from 40,000 years ago in Equatorial Guinea. The find, carried out in Rio Campo, revealed that our ancestors not only survived, but thrived in one of the most challenging ecosystems on the planet. Thanks to advanced technology and remarkable capacity for social organization, the tools of the African sapiens were very similar to those of contemporary Neanderthals. What is interesting is that sapiens group of the African forest persisted for a long time, until about 20,000 years ago, even less, Rosa highlights. Meanwhile, Neanderthals became extinct about 40,000 years ago, precisely when Homo sapiens arrived in Europe. Or, as my leading theory is as a non-scientist, Homo sapiens got busy with Neanderthals and we just became a little bit more Neanderthalish in our activities, you know? I mean, there's some Europeans out there who'd be like, it look a little more Neanderthal than human, do we? Homo sapien, do we? Some of those genes carried down. Of course, that's like the idea for some of our weird physical differences. Like there's some people who don't have this bone here in our wrist. I have the bone in the wrist, which I can't really show you right now.
Ulna?
Yeah, this, you have this bone in your wrist. Some people don't have that. That's a evolutionary difference, I think you could say, from me being descended from North Americans, perhaps. Maybe.
You get my metaphor.
No? Or some people have a stronger brow ridge. Neanderthal. That's the theories, right? This is not all facts. Okay. As science goes, you have to prove yourself wrong before you can say it's a fact. So you have to continue to try to look for how your theory is wrong first. That's kind of what we're in now. But according to all of the studies, at least of the pollen in that area, it's a fact that humans were there 150,000 years ago, because there's beyond a doubt that the pollens could have been looked at incorrectly, I suppose. But you got me a simile?
I do. Well, you almost took it away from me. Every time we discover a new species of human, it's like discovering a new bone in your body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is true. I mean, not to mention that, did you know all humans don't have the same amount of bones? Right? There's an average amount of bones every human has, but not all of us. Some of us have extra ones, some of us has less than the person next to you.
Some people are boneheads.
Just another fact of life that science is not factual, okay? It's a theory. Most of science is a theory.
Science can only be disproven by science. That's why it's called science. I don't know what they'll say. It's like saying, that's why it's called money, because it's money. Anyway, same thing. Anyway, there's your. I guess that's it. So I already gave my simile, right?
Yeah, I'm rolling the wheel. I was just waiting for a moment.
All right, woohoo! Let's clap for that.
And we've got It reminds me of a song. All right, my favorite one. It's not a lot of things remind me of songs, so see how this goes.
Sorry about that. All right. This is from positive.news. Nobody's name on it, so I guess we're going to call it Gavin Haynes wrote this section. This is from positive.news. Immigrants and Renewables supercharged state.
For some reason, all the emotes from the sounds are on your face, so now you're just a bunch of emotes on your face.
Let me take them away. I think if I just take them away, they'll go. There you go.
No, they didn't go away from me. I think it's on my side. I'm gonna disconnect and reconnect, and hopefully that will fix it. Whoops.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, they're gone now.
All right. Immigrants and Renewables. This is from positive.news. Let's do the byline again. It's Gavin Haynes. Gavin Haynes. Oh, byline. I'm sorry, of positive.news. I'm going to read it like Art Fern. Art Fern. A decade after rolling recession. Anyway, a decade after a grueling recession, Spain's economy has become world-beating with renewables and immigration cited as leading drivers of growth. Imagine that. Immigration is good. Wow. You mean all the bullshit I've been hearing about immigrants being criminals is just bullshit? Wow. I didn't know. Anyway, data shows that Spain's GDP expanded by 3.2% last year, outperforming 37 other nations in the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD, which I decided to abbreviate. The boom has been fueled by cheap energy from Spain's surging renewables sector. It got 60% of its electricity from green sources in the first half of 24 as it moved to reduce its reliance on gas. Immigration, mainly from Latin American countries, also helped power up Spain's economy, according to the analysis by The Economist, as did tourism. The buoyant economic figures come despite Spain's aging population and its pioneering wealth tax, which critics said would drive away investment. Well, guess what? It didn't. Way to go, wealth tax. It's not all good news. Youth unemployment in Spain remains stubbornly high at 26%, the highest rate in the EU. Tourism and immigration are also feeling a housing crisis in some regions, experts warn. There's a quickie on Spain. Here's another quick story, also from positive.news, as we're just scrolling through their page. UK's net zero economy is an economic powerhouse. More good news on saving money, saving the planet at the same time. Imagine that. While right-leaning populists criticize the push towards net zero, fresh research shows that UK's green economy is booming and the salaries are better too. Offering a reality check for climate skeptics, figures from the Confederation of British Industry, or the CBI, suggest that UK's net zero sector grew by 10% in the last year, far outpacing the wider economy, which remained largely flat. The sector pumped an estimated $28 billion into the UK economy and supported 273,000 full-time jobs. The CBI said its research found for every $1 of value generated by the net zero company, an additional $1.89 was created in the wider economy. The multiplier effect, as they call it.
Yeah.
Salaries for green jobs were found to be 15% higher than the UK average, which average would be.
You said the UK average. Yeah. What are you, Australian?
UK average. Shut up. The UK average is 43,100 pounds per year versus the average worker making 37,430. The net zero economy has become a powerhouse of job creation and economic expansion, said Isaac Gravener in economics at the CBI. And like some industries, that cluster is in major cities, the net zero economy is making waves across the entire UK. The CBI research echoed recent analysis in the Chinese economy, which showed that its clean energy sector supercharged the country's economy in 2024. There's your good news. Good news on renewables, good news on immigration. We love good news here at Good TuesNewsday. So let's have a song.
Well, everyone loves the big bright green pleasure machine. There you go, by Simon and Garfunkel. That's the song we got.
Okay, really good. Okay,
getting
right
pleasured by and it's totally about that song is 100% about improving our climate and being pleasured by it, and that's it. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Sure.
Yeah, the pleasure of seeing our planet survive climate crisis. That's what it's about.
All right, bent over backwards for that one.
All right, let's roll the wheel.
Then my thing
move
over
on.
my face again.
That's the only song I can think of. So.
Okay.
Non sequitur time.
Okay.
Okay. For my story, let's go into culture news. As we talk about, this is a short one. This is a short story. A stolen painting that has revealed itself after 50 years of going missing. This is on Euronews Culture. A 17th century Brueghel painting stolen from Poland's Gdansk meeting. I know how to say that, but I never know how to say it. Gdansk Museum in 1974. So it's been stolen just a little shorter than how long Roger's been alive. Has been recovered in the Netherlands with the help of a detective dubbed the Indiana Jones of the art world. That's right. A painting by renowned Flemish-Dutch master Peter Brueghel the Younger, missing for over 50 years, has resurfaced in the Netherlands. Stolen from the Gdansk Museum in Poland back in 1974, woman carrying the embers, circa 1626, was recently found at the Gouda Museum in the Dutch province of Limburg. What the hell, Limburg? What are you doing stealing paintings? A small round painting measuring just 17 centimeters in diameter depicts a peasant woman holding smoldering embers and a cauldron, symbolizing an old Dutch proverb about duplicity. For decades, its whereabouts were shrouded in mystery and speculation, with whispers of possible involvement by the Polish Secret Service. Arthur Brand, already famous for his other high-profile recoveries, was called in to investigate when the painting appeared at an exhibition last year. The painting had been loaned to the Gouda Museum from a private collection that probably bought it illegally, and until recently was sitting quietly under their radar. It wasn't listed in any stolen art registries, with the museum acting in good faith based on information they had, the museum said. The real shock came when, following a tip from a Dutch art magazine, Vind, Brand identified the original stolen piece. I find that so funny. So, Vind is find in Dutch, and he found the stolen painting. Wow, that's crazy.
Oh.
The story is nuts, Brand remarked, according to ArtNet, alluding to the mysterious circumstances surrounding the painting's disappearance. Investigating the case, Brown found that the artwork had already been swapped with a reproduction after the theft. It wasn't until a museum worker accidentally knocked the frame in 1974, so even longer ago, maybe even before you were born, this painting had been swapped with a different painting. And they only discovered the substitution in 1974. And adding to the intrigue, a Polish custom officer who had uncovered illegal art exports through the Baltic port of Gdynia was tragically killed shortly before he could be questioned. What the hell is just a painting, man? And they must have been smuggling a lot of money with this, painting. Dutch police are now working alongside their Polish counterparts to ensure the painting is returned to its rightful home. We are in constant contact with the Dutch authorities, confirmed Poland Minister of Culture. Brand, often dubbed the Indiana Jones of the art world for his daring recoveries, has made a name for himself unearthing lost treasure. This latest triumph adds to his impressive portfolio, which includes the recovery of Vincent van Gogh's early painting, The Personage Garden of Nuenen in Spring in 1884, stolen during the 2020 Amsterdam Museum heist. Oh, I think we talked about that, didn't we? Or maybe we didn't. The burglary of the Singer Lauren Museum.
Mm-hmm.
On the 167th birthday of Van Gogh, his painting was stolen. Tragic. But there you go, guys. There's your big story on the discovery of a painting that's probably been missing long ago, since they only found the reproduction in 1974. And it was in the Netherlands the whole time.
Wow.
I guess it was in a private collection, which they didn't indicate what private collection they bought it from. So they could have, they're going to have to trace the lines. Where did you get the painting from? Well, I got the painting from this. And they have to go to those guys, and those guys say, well, we got the painting from here. They can finally discover where the hell that painting has been. Where it's been moving around, at least since 1974.
Yes. This is my non sequitur or not? Is it time for my non sequitur?
I'm done.
Okay. Well, this goes to show you why Banksy's such a genius. He just paints walls. You can't steal them.
Yeah, you can only paint over them. Ugh.
Right. That's my non sequitur, totally unrelated to the story. Right.
All right, for the final segue.
Great. People go into great troubles to say Banksy's work, even if they don't even know if it's him or just an imitator.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, right? Anyway.
All right, and the haiku.
Haiku for this day in history. This day. We need a song for this day in history.
Yeah, go ahead and write one, because I'm not an artist.
Make me.
I'm the producer, I'm the one who takes the art and makes it into something. I'm not the one who makes the art myself. Don't have a talent for it, unfortunately. I love singing, but I'll just sing your songs,
This day in history is about serial killers. Anyway.
It's the show where we accidentally celebrate serial killers. And then we get pissed off.
And Britannica forgets what year it is. And all right, going way back in the midst of time, the 1461, King Henry VI of England was deposed by Yorkists and replaced by, I almost said Yorkies. What's little dogs? Anyway.
The Yorkies got
They chewed his ankles up. They chewed him in the ankles. He was this I almost said despised. It was deposed by Yorkists and replaced by Edward the Fourth, who I think was not even related. It's one of them bastard children. And I think the real king of England is in Australia, if it went by lineage. There was a show.
You're going off on a weird conspiracy theory right now.
No, there is a Edward. One of these Edwards was a bastard child, right? And his lineage would have made it someone else royalty, like instead of his children being. Well, anyway, never mind. Let's just get on with it. This day in history, 1678 Italian composer and violinist Antonio Vivaldi, was born. He left a decisive mark on the form of concerto and a style of Baroque instrumental music. A 1681, as we're just slowly chugging ahead in time, William Penn secured from King Charles II of England the colonial province of Pennsylvania. Why not? It's already named after him. I didn't get it to him. In North America, hoping to provide a refuge in the New World for Quakers and other persecuted people and to build an ideal Christian commonwealth. Right, well, there you go. 1789, the U.S. Constitution went into effect on this day as the governing law of the United States, the date having been established by Congress. It's been a nice run, Constitution, but you're over with. Sorry, we are now being ruled by
We had a good run,
Yeah,
as the first people to make a constitution according to American history, Amazing we lasted this long.
That's right. Well, not necessarily the first to make a constitution, but the first one to have a Bill of Rights. Anyway, 1804, Irish convicts rose up in the Castle Hill Rising, Australia's first rebellion.
And that was due to that king you're talking about, right?
Yeah, one of them kings.
The long lost king.
Right. They were probably buried in silt, so they were very well preserved. In 1837, Chicago was incorporated as a city with a population of about 4,200. It's grown slightly since then.
Just a little bit.
1888, gridiron football coach Knut Rockne was born in Voss, Norway. I did not know the world's most famous football coach was born in Norway. He was, while at the University of Notre Dame, became intercollegiate sports' first true celebrity coach. He was.
Though, to be fair,
day,
I think it's very safe to assume any white American was born somewhere else. That's not a scary thing.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this guy got famous as an American football coach, but he's from Norway. Didn't know that. Anyway, 1933, a government official, Frances Perkins, was sworn in as U.S. Secretary of Labor in the administration of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. She was the first woman appointed to a cabinet post. And she was just sat there in the cabinet with her post. In 1982, Canadian jurist Bertha Wilson became the first woman appointed to the Supreme Court of Canada. Oh, Canada. 2009, American playwright and screenwriter Horton Foote, who evoked America's life and beautifully observed minimalist stories, was perhaps best known for his adaptation of To Kill a Mockingbird. Well, he died in this day in Connecticut. Doesn't say where, just somewhere in Connecticut, and just in the mountains of Connecticut somewhere. 1933 is the featured event with the inauguration of U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In this day, 1933, in the midst of the Great Depression, Franklin D. Roosevelt was inaugurated as the 32nd President of the United States. Later, he led the country out of the Depression and to victory in World War II. Our feature biography, Miriam Makeba, South African singer. She was born March 4th. 1932 in Prospect Township, South Africa. She died November 10th, 2008, at the age of 76 at Castel Volturno, Italy. Other birthdays today, besides Antonio Vivaldi, Bobby Womack, American singer, songwriter, and guitarist, born 1944. Rick Perry, American politician and confused idiot, born in 1950. Khalid Hosseini. Confused Husseini, American author, born in 1965. And Landon Donovan, American soccer player, born in 1982. There's your birthdays that Britannica gives a crap about. No serial killers today. Serial killers. Just normal people. Lots of days today. Holy crap. It's National Pancake Day, and I think IHOP's behind that because it says it right on there. IHOP, International House of Pancakes. It's a lot of food today. It's National Pound Cake Day. So if your cake weighs a pound, or if you feel like pounding on a cake, it's your day. It's National Grammar Day. So excuse me for getting everything wrong. As we do our best today, we always do our best to have perfect grammar and perfect diction, and it never comes to fruition, but we're still going to keep trying. It's National Hug a GI Day. So if you know, GI, again, is another name for government issue, or veterans. So if you know anybody that's a veteran, give them a hug.
Yeah, if you see Raj on the street, give him a hug. I'm sure he'll love that.
Yeah. Hey. Sure. It's Patsky Day, which looks like a pastry. It looks like some kind of pastry with jelly inside of it. So yeah, that looks good. Marching Music Day. You remember the marching band days. It's Marching Music Day. It's also Fat Tuesday, because tonight in New Orleans, especially Mardi Gras and probably Rio de Janeiro, everybody's gonna lose their freaking minds. Go nuts, drink too much, puke everywhere. It's Fat Tuesday. And it's also National Sons Day, in case it wasn't enough things today, and Fashnecht Day, which is also the day before Ash Wednesday, which looks like a bunch of people wearing masks that look like they're really sad. So anyway, it's the last day of Lent. The last day before Lent. So the Catholic Church says, You must not sin during Lent, and sin includes these following things. So you got to give up drinking, eating meat, whatever. People give stuff up for Lent. So this is your last day to indulge yourself. Ooh, there's your art fern. Anyway, those are your stories. Those are your wheel spins. That's your nonsense for March 4th, 2024 on Before Pancakes.
Pancakes. So we've got lots in history. Hidden king to Australia. A Norway gone coach. There you go.
Oh, wait, I'm falling
Those
behind.
are all the things I remember you talking about.
Falling behind on the soundboard. Here we go. Here we go.
It's what the hell, man? It's a haiku.
That was an accident. I was sliding the wheel and it clicked on it because I'm clumsy. All right.
Well, and not only do we have all those days today, we also have some international UN observances, which I actually missed some yesterday and on Saturday because there haven't been any for like a week. And every time there aren't any for a week, I forget to check. So we've got on last Saturday, which you can still celebrate this today for the rest of your life, perhaps, Zero Discrimination Day. That's right. On March 1st, celebrate the right for everyone to live a full and productive life, no matter what they look like or how they were grown up or how poor they are or how rich they are. Don't discriminate based on superficial things. Give people the rights to do whatever they so desire because they are humans on the planet. Then we have World Seagrass Day. Now, why is seagrass celebrated? Well, it's like a forest for fish. And you can't live in the ocean without some great seagrass marine flowering plants. They follow the shallow waters in many parts of the world, from the tropics to the Arctic Circle, and they are the extensive underwater meadows that create complex and highly productive and biologically rich habitats. So that was from Saturday, March 1st. Then we have yesterday was World Wildlife Day, celebrating the biodiversity that is all around our planet and how that biodiversity helps us not only create food and fuel and medicines and houses and clothing, but also benefits the beauty of nature that it brings to our planet and the people working together to make sure those ecosystems survive. I didn't write that, but it was very beautiful poetry there from the United Nations celebrating our observances today. This has been Allison from the Netherlands. That's where I live. And Roger from the West Coast of the United States, as we complete another positive news, Good TuesNewsday. Tomorrow will be our Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we'll be covering all the wacky and weird things that are going on. I already have my stories for days now because I saw some weird stuff happening over the weekend. Let me tell you. And we hope to see you there. Make sure you subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we go live and post a video. And here is our mic drop moment.
I'll tell you what's funny. I made fun of the fucking Twitter guy for fucking Sieg-heiling not once but twice. And I never look at my emails. I was scrolling through my emails and it said my Twitter account had been flagged for I don't even tweet anymore. It had been flagged for what a fucking baby. Just like Hitler. A fucking baby. Because that's another thing. All of these people that are into fucking Hitler.
You bullied me. You need to be banned. You bullied me.
This guy like he was some sort of fucking hero.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest
Not even on Twitter.
Ever.
Yeah.
All the pain and all the suffering that guy's caused.
Go, Bill, go, go, Bill, go.
Firebombing fucking cities to get that motherfucker. When it came time for him to pay the price for all the suffering he caused millions and millions and millions of people. Did he face the music? Nope.
No.
He gave himself a nice, quick, painless fucking death.
The only heroic thing Hitler ever did was kill himself. That's what people say.
Should have faced the fucking music, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Terrible.
Let Bill spin it,
This is
man.
the world we live in, where you got to remind people that guy was a bad guy.
Yeah.
That destroyed millions of people's lives, families, and his own country. His own countrymen paid the price for what he did. He
God, bye guys. Have fun. I'm gonna go.
It's like, how does he go straight to hell? What does God say about that? He made that guy.
That's true.
Right? I just don't understand that. Like how he gets absolved of that.
Yeah,
God created everything, yes, including Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
He really did create us.
Adolf Hitler was here to teach us to, you know,
like us, he is
gives a
also
lesson
not perfect.
To teach us how to.
He goes down fucking looking every once in a while. All right.
He's supposed to have mic drop.
B-sides. How about the fact that the Twitter guy he's not even from here. He's from South Africa. He comes to this country and wants to turn it into a fucking dictatorship. He doesn't feel that we deserve democracy.
I mean, there's something very South African about that.
Going to another country and
let's make an apartheid state.
and just deciding, yeah, you know what? I'm going to change this form of government because I've decided.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind living under a dictatorship as long as he's on the good side of it.
Yeah, that's how most people are with dictatorships.
Face cunt.
Laminated face.
Now what are you going to do? Reflag my account?
No!
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.